Okay, here we go.
Thank you, Tony. Hi, everyone. On behalf of the 3C2A staff, I'd like to welcome you all to the 3C2A convention. While we can't be together this year in person, we are happy that you're able to participate at least virtually. Thank you. Before I turn over the meeting to Tony again, I just want to take a quick moment to thank our 3C2A partners for their continued support to our association and our members. So thanks goes out to E-Team, AMGC Sports, Jostens, who are the folks providing the awards for our scholar athletes tomorrow, and to Presto Sports. Thank you to them and thank you to all of you. That's it. Have a great meeting.
Thank you, George. Okay, welcome everybody to our 3C4A general business meeting. So as is custom, we'd like to start off with a welcome both to our returning members, longtime members, and especially to our brand new members. And before I name their names, I would just like to make a general statement thanking people for their patience on the applications and the checks that have been sent in. Many of you know that Teresa has been on medical leave from West Hills. I'm not sure that she's going to be on the call today. I was hoping that she would be. Don't see her on here just yet. But what's happened is that she has not been on campus, and your applications, your dues checks, they all go to her mailbox on campus. And she has had to try to get, I guess they have a campus situation like many of ours where some of you are not even allowed on campus. I don't know how it is at your place, but I'm allowed on campus because even last March, when we closed, I was one of the employees that was designated as an essential employee. So I had the option to work from home or work from the office. And I've done a little bit of both, but it's been 97% here in the office. I don't work well from home. Some of my job I cannot do from home. And so I requested to be in the essential employee category with my vice president of student services so that I would have the option. Now, I don't know what the option is at Teresa's school, but occasionally she's had to try to get a colleague to run by the mailbox and scoop out her mail and try to bring it home to her. And so we've had some delays in trying to get some of that information. And so I went ahead and added the names of some people that I was confident that we had their paperwork in. So I got them added to the listserv, so they should now start to receive emails that we send to members at 3c4a.org. So the new members, and I know a couple of them are on the call. I haven't taken a quick look at the rest of the people on yet. Umaira Amin from Mission College, welcome. We have Kyle Beatty from College of Marin. We have Pearl Urena from Bakersfield College. I think Pearl was a member at one time and just, I think, a paperwork snag probably got her off the list. And I think she's back on now. So I know she's back on the website, and I'm confident that her paperwork is in. We also added just yesterday, Giovanna Arrington from De Anza College. So welcome to all of you. So go ahead, Diana, and share the business meeting agenda, if you would. And just for the sake of you new members, certainly, and a reminder for all others, our executive board consists of myself serving as president, and our vice president of the North is Diana Ali from American River College. You see her on there. Our vice president of the South is Mike Miles from Golden West College. You see him on there. Our treasurer membership person is Teresa Quilici from West Hills, Lemoore. And our secretary, Molly Mercer. We like to call her Miss Molly. And our past president and organization creator, Evans Roderick, is serving on the executive board in the role of past president. Angel Miraz is our management council representative. We'll get a report from her in a minute. I'm hoping she's on the call. Angel, are you on?
I'm here.
Okay, good. So convention review. I just want to remind all that the scholarship luncheon will still be going off tomorrow as scheduled. Bring your own lunch. But our two winners of our award will be honored there, along with the other scholar athletes with the 3C2A. We did not do an honoring our own this year. None of the organizations did. So that is on pause until next year. And our Carrie Hannigan will be honored at next spring's in-person convention. So be sure to join up tomorrow. That's usually the highlight. I think they have taped some of the acceptance speeches or whatever from the students. So we should have something to work with there. We also have Matt Vincent tomorrow from Cal State Sacramento. He is an associate athletic director in charge of compliance. So looking forward to his presentation as well. And then on Thursday, for me, that's of course, these are all must-sees if you ask me, but this is really our must-see of the convention, along with the, the continued focus on mental health that we have been working on as kind of a consistent theme in the last 3 or 4 years. COVID has added a brand new layer to that. And so I searched out on the NCAA website in their medical services department. I sent out an email to about 3 or 4 people. I was trying to get somebody for last November. They didn't respond to me until after the fall conference was over. So I got some names. I got 3 names of people in California, and I emailed all 3 of them in one email. And Dr. Tegan Adams responded within about 30 minutes. She was extremely excited about presenting to this group. And once I started talking to her, I informed her that my guess is she's going to have a whole lot of other people from a whole lot of other organizations that are going to join that conversation. I have seen the PowerPoint slide presentation that she has put together. I think well, my goal usually always is to try to get you to walk away from a session saying, I really, really enjoyed that. I got something out of it. I'm confident that that's going to be the case tomorrow. I should be okay by 10:30. I'm going to get my second Moderna COVID vaccine shot tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. But I expect to feel fine by 10:30. I can start that Zoom and let her take it over from there. Okay, Management Council report, Angel Miraz.
Hi, everyone. I want to apologize for having my camera off. I came to donate blood and it took a little longer than expected. So I'm using cell service and it's not that great. I hope you can hear me okay. Tony, am I good?
Yeah.
Okay. Just a couple of updates from Management Council. The first is, and Tony can probably speak to this a lot better than I can because I believe he's on the committee, but Management Council received a report yesterday, a presentation from the Health and Wellness Committee. They are also presenting as part of the convention tomorrow. And I just want to encourage if anybody can go to that to go. There was some really good information that came out of that report. And it has a lot of counseling implications. And one of the things that they asked us to do in Management Council was to review the report and look at it through the lens in which we represent. and think about ways that we can address some of the concerns that are in the report. So I don't know, Tony, if you want to speak to that a little bit more, because I think you're on that committee.
I am on the committee, and I would just say that I would echo what Angel just said. It really is something you want to see. And I think you want to hear Dr. Frank Harris tomorrow morning as well as part of the keynote. He was the architect behind a lot of the work on that report. I know that there's parts of that report that are just fascinating. And it's detailed. I mean, they really, really, really did a deep dive on the things that affect our student athletes. And, you know, if it affects our student athletes, it affects other students. I mean, our athletes are just a category of human beings, right? So the same things that affect them affect others. And so some of you I know have a wider counseling load than just seeing student athletes. And so they're going to bring some information. I'm hoping in the time that they're given that they can get the highlights out there that would grab your attention and make you really want to get the entire report and look at it in a little more in depth. They've traced things back to the whole food insecurity was a big piece of it. And I mean, they've done surveys on what's the percentage of people that eat breakfast, eat lunch, eat dinner. And I mean, they've done all kinds of research in this thing. It was impressive to me. I basically played an observatory role there, although I did jump on and make some comments. As you guys know, I can't resist doing most of the time. But my comments were always basically focused on what can we do within the rules that we're given to play with to help our student athletes. And with the food insecurity thing, we all know that we have rules and regulations around the 3C2A that we can't violate. And so there's lots of discussion about that. So there's just a lot of great information there. So if you can clear your schedule, those are sessions that you want to see.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tony. And so the conversation in Management Council was really around some of those bylaws that prevent us from serving students the best that we can, because we're more restrictive than some of our Title V legislation and regulations are. And so that was a big point of concern that they discussed when they gave the report. The other thing that I wanted to report out on is one of the legislative proposals, and you all heard about this because I think I sent out an email earlier in the year, was basketball's proposal to kind of move the dates of their season. Originally, they were going to move the dates to December, and then there was a lot of discussion like this isn't a true spring sport, so it's the goal that you're trying to get out of moving this is not what's actually happening. And so there was a lot of pushback on the legislation. It wasn't pulled, but it's pretty, there's a pretty big consensus that it's not going to pass. But what came out of that is really the concern for bylaw, I think it's 1.33, which is the bylaw that says students have to complete 6 units with the 2.0, and our basketball athletes lose eligibility in the middle of their season. So that's really one of the biggest issues of concern that came out and the conversation that was discussed in that. And so the equity committee has been looking at that through an equity lens, and they're going to take that back to the board to discuss it and the way that it, leaves our basketball athletes in a really tough spot. And they're asking for any input that you have that I can bring back to the board committee that I'm a part of, which is the academic review. So if any of you have any input into that bylaw, the way that you see it affect athletes, any suggestions that you may have, you can either email me or we can discuss those now. Anything that you want me to bring back as a concern based on that bylaw and how it's inequitable to our basketball athletes. Anybody have questions about that or concerns that they want to talk about now? You can also email me if you want.
And Angel, the actual management council business meeting is Thursday, correct?
That is correct. Yes. The
Does
business
that work?
meeting is actually Thursday. So the meetings we had so far were pre-conference meetings.
Okay, so that's where you'll report out on 3C4A?
Correct. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
very good.
And then the last update is around the COVID work group. So this is another thing that I would love all of your input in. And again, you can email me or we can discuss it now. The next item on the agenda for the COVID work group is to discuss the rules for how the eligibility is going to impact our fall athletes. So we haven't discussed that yet. There has been no decision on the number of units students are going to complete or transfer requirements or residency, any of that. That's all on the next agenda to discuss. And so I know Bruce emailed me some suggestions in the past. If any of you want me to bring anything to the work group that you're concerned about, that you want to make sure we take into consideration when we're making decisions on eligibility for fall, please let me know. Again, we can discuss that now or later. And then the other thing is the work group put together a little sub work group of people to put together a handout basically that helps our coaches and athletes and even us understand which schools are accepting our waiver of seasons of competition. And so there's a group of us that have been working on that I will share with you once it's ready. It's not quite ready because we were waiting on language from NCAA and NAIA to make sure it was appropriate. Once that's ready, I'm going to ask a couple more people in here for feedback on it to make sure that it's 100% accurate. And then we will send it out to all of you as a tool to use so that you understand. It's just a handout that helps understand who's accepting our waiver for seasons of competition and what does it mean to get the period of eligibility back. And it's going to be a tool that might be useful for you. And that's all really I have right now, Tony, at this point. If there's any questions or again, like I said, feedback, we can talk about it now, or you can always email me as well.
Okay, and certainly post-convention, if you'll send me a write-up on summary of what happened at management council, I can certainly forward it to the group without a problem.
Angel,
Definitely will do.
Can I ask a question about, so the input that you're asking so that way you can discuss it on Thursday, are they making a decision on all of these things on Thursday?
No, they are not. The COVID work group is going to meet again. We're meeting every 2 weeks right now. And so the COVID work group is going to meet again. I think it's next week. I have to look at my calendar. And we make a recommendation and then the board will make the decision. And so the way that it's working right now is that if the board doesn't have a scheduled meeting and it's something that we need a decision made on immediately, they're able to vote through email to make a decision on that. So no, it won't be Thursday. It will be sometime after next week.
And what about the basketball?
Yeah, the basketball, they're voting on that legislation on Thursday, but like I said, it's not very likely that it's gonna pass.
I mean, so I guess I have a question because like when this first all came about and there was all kinds of documentation and reports, I mean, all of that I'm sure is already being used. You don't need all of that type of information about, GPA and pass rates and stuff like that, right?
Right. I guess what I'm looking for to clarify that is the academic review, and I'm sorry, I don't know I should know the full name of that committee, Tony, if you know it, but the academic review is a board subcommittee. And so equity, which is a management council subcommittee, had a conversation about that bylaw that, disproportionately impact our basketball athletes. And they came up with all of these suggestions out of equity. And one of the suggestions is they want that board committee to review it with the lens of equity. Because when it was first proposed, it was through the lens of academic progress. And now we're seeing it have a huge impact on our basketball athletes. And so they're asking for that committee to review that legislation. And this is not the basketball legislation. This is the bylaw 1.3.3. And they're asking for them to review that and determine whether or not that's still good legislation. And if not, how we can change it to make it more equitable. And so I'm just asking for feedback from all of you on maybe ways that we can change it to make it more equitable, way that you see it affecting your athletes, suggestions you might have.
Yeah, that was the Athletic Academic Standards Review Committee, I think, Angel.
Yes, Tony, that's what it is. Thank you.
Yeah, and you called it right the first time, Angela. It is the basketball rule. It's technically
Yes.
a bylaw, but it's the
Yes, you're
basketball
right.
rule.
You're right.
Well, there was a lot of discussion in those about that in some of those meetings because, and I think I made the comment, you know, they said that wasn't written for basketball. It was written for basketball. They were the only sport that could lose eligibility in the middle of their season.
Yep.
You know, without dropping below full time. You can lose eligibility if you drop below full time and all that. But it was the only sport that could lose eligibility midway, not necessarily midway, but after their season has started. And that's when it affects one group like that, it's inequitable. And so there was a lot of conversation about that. So we'll see what happens with it.
Right. And I will keep you all posted. And again, if you have suggestions, please let me know.
Okay, anything else for Angel on Management Council right now? Okay, I always have an eye on the clock. It's 2:24. We have until 3 o'clock. Treasurer membership report. What I'm going to say to you about that, touched on earlier, is that when I get updated information about what our membership number is and what the bank account reads, I will send that out to you in a general email. Okay. I can tell you that we have roughly $10,000 in the bank. As we spoke on the executive board meeting this morning, the largest expenditures that the organization has is number one, and probably tied for number one, is going to be convention expenses under normal years when we're meeting in person. That usually runs us about $2,300 to $2,500. Our webmaster, and I'm going to get into that in a minute. That's next on the agenda. We spend about $2,300 right now on website. We spend with our scholarship checks to our student athlete achievement award winners and honor roll recipients. We spend, that can vary, but this year we're into that for $1,800, I think. So we also have to have some money in reserve to secure presentations and speakers at times. Sometimes you get what you pay for. And I've always tried to bring relevant programming to the group, but they're not always free, okay? So there is an expense there. So 10,000 sounds like a lot, but in just a few weeks, we could run through half of that. Okay, so that's another thing. That's another reason people ask me in COVID, we're not meeting, do we still have to pay our dues? You know, the answer is yes. And that's because we're going to have some of these ongoing expenses, even in a Zoom format. Okay. So I'll get you information as the best of my knowledge on that when I get it. Next item on the agenda, website information. I have not been happy with our website for the entire time that I have been president. And I think that's now 7 years. And so I'm putting in place some things to update that and change it. And so let me give you a quick rundown. I don't want to chew up a whole lot of time on it, but I think you're going to like what happens. Currently, we're spending $2,300 on website. That's $2,000 for services, and it's $229, call it $230 for domain renewal fees, which has to happen. There's nothing that can be done about that. I am working with a gentleman named Chris Ruiz that I spent over an hour on the phone with yesterday. He does lots of community college website management. He does the Central Valley Conference League office website. And he manages, I don't know, he's got a handful of community college websites that he manages in the California community college system. He was an SID at Long Beach City for 15 years. So he is familiar with the community college system, but here's what I've got working. And my athletic director helped me make a contact with this guy because she knows of people that have used his services and they're extremely happy with it. So I told you what we currently spend on website. It's going to cost us $1,000 to transfer everything and get the new site set up. One-time fee on that. From there, his proposal was to charge us $1,200 a year. Keep in mind, we're currently paying $2,000. So his proposal was $1,200 per year. And I mentioned to him that that would be, it would never go down, but it could be negotiable up depending on how much work we give him to do. And I said this to the executive board this morning. I'll repeat it here. Much of our problems with our website being so far and so badly outdated are self-inflicted. We have not done a good job overall as an organization in providing relevant material, updated material, new stuff, new pictures, all kinds of those kinds of things. So we bear some of the responsibility for that website not being what we would like for it to be. And so as the president of the organization right now, I take responsibility for that. All right. And so I'm also going to take responsibility for trying to fix it. So I think you're going to be happy with it. I asked the executive board today to think about some things that we may want on our front page, just some things that are not there now, like maybe a tab that gives us our Student Athlete Achievement Award winners year by year, maybe an archives page, a photo gallery, when we get back to going to conventions in person, that sort of thing, and just cleaning up the website and making it look modern and new. And I'm confident that this guy is going to do that. And yeah, Diana, do you want to throw up the new logo? I had a lady here in our office create a logo for us, and I fell in love with it the minute I saw it. And this, by the way, is our new plaque that our Student Athlete Achievement Award winners and our honor roll recipients are receiving this year. I don't know what you think of that overall, but I think they're beautiful. I think the gal in our office did a nice job of creating that. I love the way she stacked the 3C4A. I've seen 3C4A forever, but it's always been on one line. And when I saw that as an example, it caught my eye just immediately. So I fell in love with it. So I'm hoping that you like it as well as I do. So I took these over to Bakersfield and had a lady at Kern Trophies work on the design of this plaque. I told her what we wanted and where we wanted it on the plaque. And I think they're very, very nice. And I think our student athletes they're going to be very pleased with them. So thanks, Diana, for showing that, because I've mailed them all out already. They've all been received. And so now we are paying for that, okay? These plaques, we had 12 of them made, and that was $374. So we've gotten plaques for free forever. And we've had a real nice run with that. And so we're gonna move on. And we're going to start having these kinds of plaques, I think, unless the membership wants to do something different. Okay. more on the website as it unfolds, okay? If you have suggestions about something or a tab that you would like to see on a new 3C4A website, send it to me, okay? I'll develop a list, and when we get to that point, we'll start trying to execute those changes. We have elections, and I sent this out yesterday. We're behind schedule on the notice for that. We have at least 2 terms that are expired this spring. One is the Vice President of the South, and the other one is the Secretary. For the Vice President of the South, Mike Miles has served in that role for 2 years. These are 2-year terms. He has indicated a desire to continue. Molly Mercer has been our secretary for, what did we decide on, Molly? 25 years, or was it just 7 or something?
7.5, maybe. I don't
Secretary
know.
forever. But she has taken on much additional duties at Glendale. And so she has desired to step down and allow somebody else to get involved. So the way the Constitution reads, these nominations are supposed to go. The vice president whose term is not up for renewal or re-election is in charge of running the elections at the spring convention. Well, we are at the spring convention. So Diana, I know we're late on this. Do we have any nominations?
We have 2 nominations for VP of the South, and that's all I've received.
Okay, so we have 2 nominations for the South. I'll ask who those are in a second. But is there anybody in the group, and I'm especially interested in trying to recruit new members, not necessarily brand new members, but people that have not served on the exec board in any position as of yet. Is there anybody that's interested in taking on the role of secretary? And basically, Molly can tell you what is involved there if you'd like to hear that. Molly, what's the secretary supposed to be doing?
So a lot of my responsibilities are taking notes at any of the meetings that we have. It's like a big part of what I do. It's a good position to start off with if you want to get involved but are nervous to like take on too much. And anytime like our executive board meets, you attend and participate in those meetings, but basically take notes at all of our meetings and send that out to our group. But it's a good one to start with.
Okay, so I'm going to make a nomination in the chat to everyone. So nomination's been made. Is the nomination accepted? I would accept the nomination. So we have a nomination acceptance from Carrie Hannigan, Clovis College. Thank you, Carrie. Anybody else want to put a nomination forward in the chat? Going once? Going twice? Jeff Mosier, do we need to vote when there's one nominee?
No.
Congratulations, Carrie Hannigan, to your new position. Now, Diana, the 2 nominees for Vice President of the South, and Jeff, by the way, for those of you that don't know, if you have not looked at our executive board and our constitution on our website, we do have a parliamentarian, and that is the person that helps make sure that we are following proper meeting rules and procedures. okay, to say the least. So that's why I'm calling on Jeff to answer these questions. Jeff, since we are virtual, how do we handle quorum and voting under these circumstances?
So we've never done it this way before, but what we're trying to achieve is a majority. So when we have two individuals competing, the person who's going to win has to win through just a simple majority. And I'm thinking we can do this through chat, but normally when we're voting for an individual, it's private. And I don't think the chat is private. Is that right?
It is not private. And the other thing that I'm thinking about is the fact that our stipulation in our Constitution says that you must be a member in good standing, meaning you've got your dues payment in. Right now, I can't verify any of that. So let me ask the group this.
By the way, Tony, there's nothing in the Constitution that says the vote has to be private. That's really just something we can agree with right now. If everybody's good with the chat vote, we can get past that one now.
Yeah,
But the issue you brought up is
that's a good idea. Chris said it too. If we want to send it privately to, I don't know if the VP of the North should receive that, Tony, Jeff. I'm open to it.
Yeah, I think it should go to one person and the tally gets up that way. But to Sheehan's point here, when we vote in person, we write a name on a piece of paper and it goes around, we collect them and somebody's at the back of the room and counts them and gives us the total. So in effect, it was private, but the only thing people saw was somebody handing a piece of paper off to somebody. So should we do the question I was going to ask is, in the interest of trying to make sure that members are in good standing to vote, do we have to do this now, or can we suspend it and do it via email a week or two up the road, once we can try to get some information on membership list and active list and that sort of thing?
the Constitution says we have to have it done by the end of the conference. But these are different times. If we can all agree that after the 2 weeks after this conference is fine, we can just take a vote on that and see where we are. The other thing, Tony, is if we have somebody who could look at the names who's here at this meeting, because normally we don't really check your concern. We don't really check. We just kind of assume that everybody in the meeting is a member because they're in attendance. So if we can get the names of individuals in this meeting and then compare it with those who are registered,
I believe
we could probably have that done in a couple days.
I believe that's why the 3C2A set up the deal where you had to register for each meeting. I think that's how they were taking roll. But you're right, this is kind of a messy situation, but and I am truly asking for guidance here, because I really don't know how to handle this.
Well, I have two things. I think those of us who paid dues know we paid. So just in the honor system, if you know you paid, vote. And if you know you didn't pay, don't vote. And also, wouldn't this be the time where the two nominees would give their speech? I just want to make sure we carve out that time.
It would be the time that they would make a comment or two. Certainly I think just in the interest of time. So why don't we do that to start off? Who
Can I
are
ask
the
a
two,
quick-
who are the two nominees?
Tony, can I ask a really quick question?
Okay,
Because I know George is still in this meeting, and I don't know about you guys, but earlier this morning, as soon as he started another session, we all got kicked out, and that's going to happen in 17 minutes. So I just wanted to see if that was fixed. Was that fixed?
well, I asked George about that. George, are you still in?
Because I don't want to get kicked out while we're trying to decide stuff.
He told me that shouldn't have happened. We talked about it at the top of the meeting, but I'll keep an eye on that thing and see if he shows up again. But
Okay, I just wanted to mention it.
Go ahead. Who are the two nominees, Diana?
Thank you, Stephanie. The two nominees are Mike Miles and Jen Burleson.
Okay, Mike, you're the incumbent. So you get to go first and making a statement to the membership.
Thanks, Tony. Yeah, I'm at Golden West College. Been there for 2 years now. Was at Cerritos College for 7 prior to that. It's been a great time being the VP of the South for this year through. It's definitely been interesting with COVID. The big part of what the VP does is help put together the 3C or the 3C4A award. So that was a great thing to be a part of. I put my name in because I enjoyed doing it this year or the last 2 years, and feel comfortable doing it again. So that's about all I got for you.
Okay, Jen. First of all, I should have said, do both of you accept the nomination?
Yeah, I accept the nomination.
Yeah, I accept the nomination. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Just to give you a little bit of background on who I am, for those of you that don't know me, I have been a member of the 3C4A going on, I think, about 17 years now. I've been at Mount San Jacinto Community College for the last 15. Before that, I worked at Cal State Fullerton as a graduate assistant and academic advisor for about 2.5 years through grad school. I graduated as a student athlete at The Ohio State University. I played softball there 4 years. I also have my doctorate degree in educational leadership, and I'm super excited to be here with you guys. A couple highlights from my career that I'm pretty proud of is I was awarded back in 2017 the Region 5 Professional Excellence Award with the N4A. I've been an active member of the N4A for about the last 12 years. I've attended 11 national conventions. I've been an active participant with the 2-year college committee. I was actually the 2-year college chair for about 5 years until they actually got rid of the 2-year college committee. They actually combined it with the membership committee. And I'm still an active participant with that association as well. Been going and working with Tony with them. I also was an Honoring Your Own recipient back in 2014. At MSJC, I've actually written several grants to build our academic support program for student athletes, which now yearly is about a $650,000 program. That's the funds have been institutionalized with MSJC. I presented across the country on probably 10 or 11 different occasions with the N4A and just different professional associations, kind of highlighting our program, showing other community college professionals how to build an academic support program, basically with no funding. Back in January of 2020, I took my first sabbatical, which I was super excited about, but unfortunately, like we all know, COVID hit, and I was on my 4th out of 12 college visits, actually with Teresa and Tony, when COVID hit, and I actually had to discontinue my research. But what I'm super excited about is I did continue my research virtually. And what I found out is our student athlete population, along with other special populations, have a lot of work that we need to do. A lot of my research actually surrounded guided pathways and the things that need to improve within our state to make sure that our students are heard and our students are actually served properly. And so part of what I would like to do with our association is continue that research. And Tracy Franks, who is actually Dr. Tracy Franks now, who's at Moore Park College, she did some phenomenal research on guided pathways. And I've actually used a lot of her research through my sabbatical to really bring back to our institution and try to start implementing some of the things that she's done. A couple things that I'm really proud of this year that we did at MSJC, which I'd like to share with you guys, is I created a virtual mental wellness workshop series for our student athletes. We've done 4 of them this year to be able to help our student athletes that are really struggling mentally, because I really think that in this time, it's a struggle for all of our student athletes. And I have quite a few presentations that I can share with the membership at some point. I did serve on the executive board before as a secretary. I am the NCAA Two-Year College Relations Panel academic professional, the only academic professional that sits on that as of right now. And I'd be honored to serve as your VP of the South.
Okay, thank you both. I think what I'm going to suggest, just in the interest of time, is to Diana, would you put your email address up there, and let's have people send their vote to Diana. And by the end of Thursday, Diana will have, she will have a report back for us.
Tony, can I modify
Yeah.
what you're suggesting?
Yeah, I need help here.
So the official day is May 1st. So that's tomorrow, right?
No, that's April 1. April 1 is Thursday.
Okay. April 1. Anyway, so what should happen is that we need at least 2 people to count them. And Michael, as the chair, can choose 2 people from this body of individuals, but we can't just have one person do it.
Yeah, and I was going to also ask, there's only a handful of people on this Zoom, and if we were to email the entire membership, that also includes outdated emails that I know people haven't paid dues. So that's tricky too. Are we just asking the people on the Zoom to vote if they paid their dues?
Traditionally, that's how it's always been, the people who are in attendance.
Yeah,
Now others have the right to vote.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's been the people in attendance. That part I am pretty sure of.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
So I would recommend that whoever is here who's a dues paying member can just email your vote to whoever, but we have to, technically Michael chooses 2 people from this body to help count the votes.
Okay, yeah.
Jeff, 2 people in addition to Diana. Because Diana is the election chair, according to the Constitution.
It can be 2 people with Diana or 2 people maximum. I mean, we can go either way. So Diana's part of the membership, so she could be 1. So if we have at least one other that Michael chooses, that would be 2.
Okay.
But Michael could just choose 2 along with Diana.
Is that acceptable, Michael?
Are you talking about me?
Yeah. Is that acceptable to you for you to choose the person to work with Diana to monitor and count the votes?
Yeah, it looks like we have 2 people that have both stepped up, Valerie or Laney. Why don't we have Valerie do it? She was the first on the chat. That works. So if we can get back, so we're looking for.
Valerie, could you put your email in the chat, and whoever's on this Zoom will have to email Valerie and myself.
You know, we could also direct message on this in the chat where it goes directly to them unseen.
Yeah, but I'm worried about time here. We got like 8 minutes left. That's
Okay.
my issue there. So is everybody clear? When you send an email to Diana, that you also send it to Valerie? And it's a reply all thing. So both of them get that, okay?
I see we still have preference to do the chat. I mean, we could technically save the chat. Tony, do you get this? Are you the host?
Yes.
Because there is a transcript ultimately.
Well, we have some other things to talk about in the meantime, and now we're down to 7 minutes.
All right, I'm cool with the email. Just wanted to.
That's one thing everybody kind of has to keep in mind is we have to keep an eye on that clock.
Got it. Email, please. Thanks, everyone. Go ahead, Tony.
The next item is a topic that I want to talk about for a few minutes, future leadership of the 3C 4A. I have made the decision that when my term expires in spring of 22, that I will not be a candidate to move on as your president. That will automatically put me into I'll still be on the executive board. I'll slip back to the past president role. Evans has indicated that that's perfect time for him to phase out. He's ready for that. He's going to be inducted into our 3C2A Hall of Fame next spring. So that would culminate his career with us. And he'll obviously still be a member, but he'll phase off of the executive board when I step down as being president. So I will not be a candidate moving forward. I strongly feel, and I'm not BSing anybody here, I strongly feel that I've done as good a job as I can probably do serving in this role. I've done the best I can, made mistakes, obviously. But I believe that the longer somebody stays in a term, it just doesn't give others a chance to step forward and get involved. And I've encouraged that since I've been the president. I want people to become engaged. And as long as they think that the position is just not available, then it never crosses their mind to think about getting involved. And so on that note, I've been asked for 2 or 3 years now when I'm going to retire, and I also think I'm going to retire from the college at that time, in spring of 22. I will have been at Taft College 40 plus years. I started when I was 6. But I've been asked several years now, how long am I going to do this, and so on and so forth. And do I have any ideas about who might want to take it over? Well, first of all, you should never I don't think you should be a part of selecting your successor. That is up to the process. It's up to the membership, and that's how it should be. So I've been asked, what about the possibility if you think you may have an interest, is there a possibility to shadow me for this last year of my term? And what does that mean? Well, it simply means that if I'm on a call with somebody or I've got a Zoom with somebody on a committee, that I send you the Zoom link and you can link into it. You can watch what happens. You can start learning the process a little bit. And so I think if anybody is interested, I'm not opposed to that. I would have liked some training. I was scared to death when I walked in this job, and Evans will tell you that. I thought all I could do is screw it up. I thought the thing was running good, and I was so afraid of being the face of it and all of a sudden driving it into the ground. But I'm not opposed to having somebody shadow me if they think, it doesn't mean you're going to run, but if you think you'd like to, send me an email. This organization, as opposed to some others, we don't have anything in our constitution that gives you a line of succession. Like the athletic directors, they have a current president, they have an incoming president, so it's an automatic cycle to roll over. We don't have such a system. And so I would just say, if you think that you're interested in considering it and you want to shadow, send me an email. And if we do something like that, and you do get on a meeting that I'm allowing you to get into or sending you the link to, I will announce to the people that we're talking to that I have a person that I've invited into the meeting that is wishing to shadow what the 3C4A president does. Okay, does that sound reasonable to the group?
Yes.
Any questions about that? Is there a?
Yeah, Valerie's question in the chat. I don't know all the rules, so I looked
Can
at
one
Jeff
of
and
the
you guys.
VPs run as a president during their active term? Jeff, what's our constitution say about that?
It doesn't say anything about that, but I don't see a problem with somebody thinking that they may want to run and then job shadow you if you're willing to do it. Because that person still has to go through the election process.
Sure.
Just like anybody else.
That was my thought on that. But on this question, if somebody, let's say one of the VPs ran for president and they got elected like today of the convention, and we haven't gone through the process of nominating a successor to that VP position, then we'd be on a short time frame for that as well. But maybe not if we get ahead of the nomination messaging before the convention.
The executive committee can always select a fill-in person at any time during the year.
That, I think that's you're absolutely right. Now that I think about it, there is a provision in there that the executive board can appoint.
Right.
Okay, so there's the answer to that. VP can run for president during an active term of being a vice president.
Also, Tony, just one thing, I went back and I read the Constitution regarding this election. The election chair, which is Deanna, chooses 2 people from the membership to help her with the election count. So we need a total of 3 people.
Okay, so put Laney on. Laney was the second volunteer. Is that cool?
Can I just forward every email to Lainey then that I did, or how do you want to do? I don't want everyone to have to send them again. Our emails are insane. Valerie and I are texting. Thank you for voting, but
Yeah.
You know, if we just send them to one person as 3 individuals, you can share what one person receives. So if we send them all to the VP of the North, and then you guys could work that out together.
well, I was thinking to be equitable, just to show that like full transparency that I'm showing all the votes, that it is nice to have more than one person on each email.
So would you like us to send them to all 3 of you?
We've already gotten a majority of the votes. We just haven't had the chance to count them and read each email.
Yeah, it'll be transparent because we already all sent them to the 2 of you. So if just one of you send them to Lainey, she can do a count as well. So we get an equal count amongst the 3 of you.
I'm fine with however you want to do it. As long as we get to the end of it and it's a fair process and operate like it's supposed to.
That works.
Every vote counted?
We will make sure we handle it. Valerie and I will forward them to, we'll figure it out.
To Laney Collins.
Jeff was trying to be funny. I thought I laughed, Jeff.
Thank you.
Okay. I think we can cover the last 2 things. In fact, one of these is really informational. But we did have a request. Last year, there was a request, since we didn't have convention expenses, that we increase our honor roll recipient monies from 100 to 200. At that time, we agreed to do it as a 1-year, one-time deal. But we made that deal with the assumption that we were going to be back face-to-face this spring. And since that did not happen, and we don't have convention expenses like buying the food, the coffee and all that, the request has been made to extend that to another year of $200. That is a financial deal. And so the membership should be, I think, aware of that and thumbs up or thumbs down on it. Is there anybody opposed to doing that for this year? And before you answer that, I would also like to say that keep one thing in mind. All of these monetary awards are evaluated year by year based on the fiscal health of the organization. Okay? If we don't do it that way, then we could wind up running ourselves out of money. And we don't want to do that, but we also want to invest in our student athletes. Okay? So are we good with 200 for this year and obviously a revisit for next year when the time comes around? Thumbs up?
Tony,
Yeah, go ahead. Who's talking?
I think it's also good to note that there wasn't that many nominations this year. So we're not talking about a 12 or 15 students. We're talking a very small handful of students that were nominated for that award.
Right, that's correct. Good point. We had a total of 6 nominees. The 2 winners get 500 each. And the honor roll recipients will get 200. So if we agree to this right now, we will be into the scholarship money for $1,800. We cool with that? Thumbs up. Anybody got a thumbs down? Or voice it if you got a still picture going. Silence to be taken as approval. Nice message, Chris. That's funny. Okay, we'll do that. 200. I will write those checks when we get new checks. We're still waiting on them. We've ordered them.